Namaste. Welcome, everyone. Let's see. It looks like, yes, it looks like we're live. I'm so happy you found me on this channel. If you are new to this channel, welcome. And so just a short introduction if you're completely wondering, what's going on here? Who is this? So I've had a meditation center and a clinic since here in south of Sweden since 20 years back, focusing on my passion, which is health and oneness of us as beings. So for me, it is very important for the wholeness of who we are to explore. It's becoming very popular with meditation and mindfulness. So I want to go a little deeper into that to see how is our whole beingness, like the health of our body. And that's why I have this passion for my clinic work as a holistic therapist, to see how our body, mind, and consciousness is intimately linked into each other. And Satsang, that means to share one's truth in company. And I will base everything I share with you here from my own experiences. I have studied with the spiritual avatars, Sri Rama and Sri Bhagwan, in India for the past 18 years. And their teachings is very unique compared to others because they're based on our own experience, that we link it into our own life. And from there on, we have a shift in perception. And as we share, which is the satsang is all about, then it also benefits the one listening. So my deep interest, like I shared with you, is not only health of the body, but from a more scientific point of view, understanding frequencies and energies and how we can link into and take advantage of the knowledge that science is coming up with our own experiences. So today we'll do some guided processes for you to have your own experience. I will share some things that could be helpful on your journey. And so frequencies and energies, it is highly transmittable. Like it is like something you tune into. And we're going to do some sacred sound mantras a little later in the process. But I want to share with you some subjects that I want to go deeper into. I want to explore them with you and share. So where do we all come from? Are you also one of those asking that question? And as you explore it in your own way, you will discover that if there are 7 billion people on the planet, there are 7 billion different ways to experience that. And that is the mystery part of it. We all spring from a presence where you can call it a common denominator, or I call it the supreme light. How to understand it? We can call it oneness or a unified field, something that we share. Like you can imagine a big sphere, and we're all part of this But we connect into that sphere in our own way, like you stick your head into this sphere of light, and you will have your own unique experience, and nobody can ever tell another about that. There are some common traits to it, but we need our own experience of it. Otherwise, it's just empty words. So, as I have discovered in my journeying on my spiritual path, I've had this question for as long as I can remember as a small child, growing up in a more scientific family, not spiritual per se, and finding in this age that we live in, these two are coming together, the spiritual nature and the scientific nature of understanding frequencies and energies. So that question can be brought forward in a part mystical way and part scientific. And you will discover the benefit of looking and probing into that in your own life and what it can mean for you in your life and for the people around you. There are basically two things that are important as we explore these deeper truths of who we are. For our own experience to take place, no matter what teacher you're following, no matter what philosophy or view of life, it needs to be your own truth. Otherwise, it's just something that somebody else experienced. So the number one thing that we need to be accustomed to, it is our own truth. What is true for us? To discover our authentic side inside, what is actually going on? And oftentimes we are not given that space inside ourselves. That's why meditation processes can be so helpful in these times when we are filled with information coming at us in every way. To set aside some time for reflection and going within. And I'll soon be guiding you into a very simple meditative process that you can do that will take you into your own experience of what is going on. And as your brain and heart start linking together, this is what little bit science is coming in as a recent, they've seen that the neurons in your heart is linked to neurons in your brain. So there's obviously something with the heart that is of importance here. So the second thing after discovering what is truth, and I'll share more about it in just a minute, because it seems so vague, but you'll understand it if you're new to this in a little while. The second point that is of importance is to discover that goodness inside that springs from, you can feel it in the heart region. So it's not something you think yourself through. It's not based on logic per se. It is based on that sacred platform inside. And the very essence is that we can call it goodness. It's free of any religious connotation or any spiritual wordings. It is a human nature. It is our very true essence of who we are. And when these two get married, goodness and truth, that's when the alchemy of consciousness takes off. And this I want to share with you from my own experiences and how this can show up in your life. So the magical formula is these two together creates a combustion. You know, in alchemy, it's the ancient mystical transformation of lead into gold. How does that happen? How can you transform something that could be very uncomfortable, a suffering, something that is you have found is your truth inside. How can that be transformed into something wonderful, like a goodness, like joy, compassion, kindness? How is that possible? Well, in the regular science of alchemy, you have to add something to it. So this, what we're adding into this equation, is the power of grace. It's called grace, but you could call it something beyond the mind's capacity to grasp. We'll make something up for it, what it's called. We can call it grace. It is a power that springs from that unified field that we have, that we share as a common denominator. And as we tap into that collective consciousness that we all share, from that perception, you dive into that ocean, then you are tapping into that power beyond the mind's capacity to understand or grasp, but you can have the experience of that power of grace. And this is a frequency and energy that can be directly transferred, transmitted, experienced. How you tap into that power of grace is individual, is private. It's your choice how you discover that. But that power of grace always comes from goodness, unconditional love. Those are big words to carry forward. It is a presence inside our very heart. It is that which is inexhaustible, meaning it never ends. And I believe that is what we're looking for in everything in our lives. In all the relationships, we're hoping this is the inexhaustible relationship that will last forever. Yes, it will, but maybe not in the way that it's set up in this reality we call our world. But we can have a perception that makes us experience this world that we have here from a new view, where you will tap into that inexhaustible, not in a philosophical way, but in an actual way for you. And you need to discover that in your own way by these two, this sacred formula of having the courage, because we sure need courage to be truthful, to see what is the truth, what is happening with me right now. We so much want to make up a story of something else is going on. I'm not feeling this. But as you get used to being with the feelings in your heart, something happens in the heart-brain connection. We expand in our awareness, we awaken into that presence of grace, the presence beyond the mind's capacity, but the mind's is experiencing the intelligence that runs through it. So that presence inside our heart, that is what we can call the supreme. Supreme is a word that means there is nothing greater than that. So a supreme light, meaning it puts awareness on what is there. Like you go into a room, you put the light on, you want to see what is there. So the supreme light is like the ultimate light on what is there. So as you connect into the supreme light within you, the goodness inside your heart, that is just, its very nature is to see what is there inside you. You might be having a conversation with someone, or you're in a relationship, something is going on outside of you that you're involved in, but there's something going on inside you. And this is where the magic starts happening. When you become aware of your own inner conditioning. This might take a little practice. You might have to go to some meditation processes or courses for that, to go in your own inner journey for that, to have your own experience. And as you journey in your own, with your own sacred presence inside you, you will start discovering truths about yourself that you cannot change, but they're actually gifts for us to transition in consciousness. And that is why the very fact of truth is important for us. I mean, it would be wonderful if we would just like made up this spiritual journey, like, oh, just think about the goodness in life and everything will be fine. Just don't worry about all these bad things and don't think about that and just focus on the good things. Yes, it's wonderful. I think we've done that for the past few thousand years or so. At least I've done it for some time. And what was new and what I discovered when I discovered the spiritual avatars, Sri Amma Bhagwan, they were different in the sense as they came with a teaching from inside before I even met them. They came in Helsingborg from inside giving a teaching. And this is where I come from now. Because that presence, first of all, filled, that goodness presence filled every being of who I am. The personality, the different aspects, what I know is chakras, the different energy centers, all the different parts of our personality, when that gets lit up by this presence, you can say that you will have a spiritual experience of some sort. For me, it was the presence of God came. I've been looking for God. I've been looking for the divine all my life. And this cold February day, 2002, my life changed when this happened for me. And from then on, I've been journeying with this. So I'm sharing this. And in 2020, quite some years later, I'm still on this journey. And this teaching that I want to share with you today, it still holds. It holds the power of intelligence that brings you forward. Any teaching that doesn't help you grow and continue to learn is not alive. It is something that gives you an intellectual insight maybe and can be inspirational, but then it ends. Well, these kind of teachings, they are fully alive and they keep taking you on like you're surfing. You know, you're surfing the wave of life. So you just go with life as it brings certain experiences to you. And this formula is there. So these two things happened to me that day in 2002. And where that presence of goodness came over me. And it was actually transferred from somebody who said he had an experience of his antaryaman, he said. It's a Sanskrit word that means the indweller. Everyone has this in their own way. And my wish, he said, was that you will experience it in your own way. That was it. That's all he said. So somebody who has an awakened antaryaman, which means the indweller or that goodness within, has the capacity to affect another, depending on where that receiver is, the receptor. And at that time in my life, I was, you know how you paint a room? I had been painting my room, my consciousness, trying to cover things up and focus on the good things, painting, trying to survive. I felt like my head was hanging over like this. I'm gonna, life was miserable, in other words. I tried everything I could in my power to find happiness in my life. So you could say I was very dry. So a dry wood catch on fire very easy. So maybe that is why this combustion happened that day. I don't know, but I know that I was in maybe the lowest point in my life. And I had painted myself into a corner where there was nowhere else to go, no escape routes. So it wasn't just like an interesting lecturer to listen to. Oh, he's experienced something. Well, I don't know. It wasn't like that for me. It was something that happened, even though this man who shared this experience, he was deaf on top of it. So he was surely not a speaker. He was not very charismatic. He said, I'm not a speaker. You need to know that there's something inside. You need to experience it in your way. That's all he said. And if someone is authentic, like this man was, he was just himself, sharing about his experience. Something happened in my body where I recognized that frequency of truth, his truth. He's speaking truth. And that opened something in my heart to listen. And as he walked around and he lightly put his hands on our head and he said, I call this experience healing. You will have the experience that you need. So he had nothing to do with it. He was just had discovered something is in here and it can be transferred, but it will be your own experience. I don't know, he said. And you'd be surprised that you could have such a strong experience in coming from such a simple way. As I have been very well read on all the spiritual books, classes, traveled the world. I have a whole wall of books at home, only spiritual books, writing, reading, taking courses, all my life. And here's this simple man who's never read a book. He just had an experience. So it kind of knocked me. When he put his hands on my head, I received that presence of supreme light or goodness. It was unmistakably every part of my being. And I knew from my perception that was the divine, that was God for me. This is the all-encompassing seeing, the presence that fills you. You know, that's what we're looking for in all of our, I think, endeavors in life. We're looking for that love, that fulfillment, right? So this fulfilled every part of me. And you'd be surprised how you would react when you actually get such an experience. I was not prepared for it. So I was not prepared that this would also then come with putting light on what was actually there inside me at that time. See, this we're not prepared for when we are just looking for the goodness, like the good things in life. If we learn to look at the wholeness of who we are, this experience becomes much more enjoyable. So that's what I'm aiming for here today in the Satsang. But I want to share with you that I was not there that day in 2002 when this happened, where that supreme light, the presence of that goodness and truth came. So what happened was everything that was true about me also came up to the surface. At that time, I knew about chakras. I know about the different energy centers, and it was housing different energies in me that I really tried my very best to not look too deeply into the negative aspects. Let's try to be positive. So the negative aspects are now arising up with such tremendous speed and power. And I was not prepared for that. I was filled with remember, the first thing that came up was a tremendous anger and furious. And not only that, I directed this anger towards this presence, which was even worse. But it was unstoppable. I was so angry. So I directed it to this presence and said, oh, you're coming now. I was very arrogant too. You're coming now, are you? Don't you know I've been looking for you? All of my life since I was 3 years old, like not only little interesting, but like highly looking for you. I'm past 40 now, and here you come? Now? In Helsingborg, Sweden? Don't you know I've been everywhere? And now you come. So I like yelled like that. And then I remembered the little thing that this man had said. He said, no matter what experience you have to be grateful, he said. Gratitude is so important. So I remember that as I am going about in my rage and disappointment and hurts. Oh, I'm supposed to be grateful. Oh my God, I'm supposed to be grateful. How do I do it? So I tried everything I could in my life to push down these negative things. I'm sorry. I'm trying. Oh, I'm trying to be grateful here. I'm trying to be grateful. Thank you. And it wasn't working. So all this, when you are trying to push something away that is negative, what happens? Yes, that's when anxiety sets in. It's not just little, like fear-based something. It's like full panic, chaos, because you really don't want to be what you're at right now. So I was absolutely certain that this presence would leave this pitiful little woman sitting there complaining. Finally, I show up and you're going to yell at me and be complaining. Shouldn't be grateful. You can't even be grateful. So that's when things changed at this point. This presence then got a voice, and I'm not one to hear voices, and I have never heard voices like that since then. But this presence, as I was filled with my most innermost suffering, the presence said something that still today bears fruit. And it said, a teaching. Don't be afraid to meet your inner suffering. Don't be afraid to meet your inner suffering. And since I was sitting with the most inner suffering you can imagine at that time, I did what the presence said, because the presence did not leave. It was still there, even though I was this pitiful, horrible person sitting there with all my ugliness. The presence there. Just meet it. Just confront it. It's there. What were you going to do with it? So this combustion happened, my friends. What I would call alchemy. Because it was something happened when I no longer was fighting with that. I felt like a river. At the time, I didn't know what joy was or bliss, but it's different from, when you're happy for something, it feels, you're happy for something. This is different because it's physical. It was like a physical combustion of sort in every cell in my being, just filled me. Not being able to move away from any of my inner suffering or horrible qualities inside me. The presence is there. And that peak state of bliss, like the river of bliss going through the body, once you've had that, it does something to the physical body. Because then, as I walked out of there, as the peak experience walked down, I knew with every cell in my being that this presence I've been looking for, it is truth. It is there. It's not an empty Hollywood movie. I worked in Hollywood for many years, and I started to think, oh, maybe this looking for this divine God is just like some fake Hollywood movie. It's not real. That's what I painted myself into the corner. It's like, maybe I shouldn't even believe. I knew that there is a presence. And I started my journey from then on, following this inner teaching. And this is what we're going to go into processes here in the Satsang. We're going to go deeper into how that can show up for you. To be able to see what is your truth and what does that mean. And to develop a bond, a relationship with that presence of goodness and grace inside our very heart. And that is personal. How we relate to it, what we call it. The important thing is, and that I came to experience, because see, up until that time, I had been looking for the truth. Everybody who is a seeker, a spiritual seeker, looking for the truth. So we can share that with everyone. And I was such a person, living in Los Angeles for many years, living in the Mecca of New Age, I would call it. I studied with any New Age or spiritual teachers that came along. I read all the books, and every week I would write down to my family about the book I read or this teachings and that. And it's important that we learn this. And constantly looking for that truth that I will tell people. Even before I lived in Los Angeles, even as little as 3 years old, my mom told me. I come from a scientific academic background, but I was that spiritual seeker and, praying every evening. And at 3 years old, I would go the buses and trains with my mom, and I would tell everybody on the trains and buses stories about little baby Jesus, because people don't seem to know about this. And it's unusual in our country to be like that, but I came in like that, very highly spiritual, interested, and I have to find the truth. So see, for me, when this happened in 2002, and what I want to share with you on this satsang, it is that you will find your own truth. And it took me many years to come into this, painting myself into a corner, where the presence actually came in and said, don't be afraid to meet your inner suffering. And discovering that is my inner truth. I set upon a journey, and I started doing something I'd never done before up until that point in my life. I did not tell my parents, my friends, or anybody about this experience. This is a sacred experience that I need to start living. There is no ultimate truth for everyone. I was given this. I need to explore it. So, what I set about was a journey to every day to spend time, even just a few minutes, creating a bond with that presence inside my heart. My personal connection to that we can call divine. And also looking into the truth of what has happened. It's very, very painful to do that. You go through your day, you can do it at night, and you just have a few minutes every day, and you start doing it. And it's like you get on a train and it's highly addictive because you can't wait to go home at night and just do this process. You decide yourself if you want to do 7 minutes or 21 minutes or whatever you want to do, but do it. And I found that doing this process of seeing truth could not happen without the other. These two elements were needed for this combustion to take place. So the presence of goodness and grace, you start relating to it in your own way, presence in your heart. And then to see the truth, don't be afraid. Okay, so this is our own individual journey. And as we come deeper into it and go deeper and more advanced processes, which I then continued down in India, many deep-seated processes where I could explore this. And for me, it's like a horse in a wagon. You know how a horse comes with the power. So this was given me like an experience, like a horse. And then the wagon is the teaching, the trying to then see how I can ride with this experience and bring it into my life. So it's not just a wild, crazy experience and then I'm like running around, lolling in the park. No, it needs to also be used into my daily living and in my work, in my clinic, in my meditation center, and whatever I'm doing, in my family. And that is where the most changes started happening. So as I came deeper into this beingness, I saw that we are all part of a collective consciousness, but there's also something in that collective consciousness, meaning you and me together. There is you can call a like a, I would say Godhead or a presence, a point that is personal, that we, or like a being of light, you can say. Or it could be sound vibration, frequency, sacred. We take the words that we have right now. We will soon go into some meditative processes and you will discover this for yourself. But where we all come from is that very presence. But the amazing and fantastic thing is we are gifted this biological body experience. All of us together, we have this amazing thing called the body. So in this body, we can very quickly travel in high levels of consciousness, much more so than when we leave this body. We'll keep journeying in our other body, our heavenly body, but when we are in the physical body, it's a tremendous potential to grow very fast. You will see this as you travel along in this journey, how this biological body is so important to take care of. That's why my passion for health has excelled and very excited about the foundings of science of the energy body and frequency, how we can help the physical body to discover health, because we're going to need this body in this coming years. I believe this next 10 years is going to be very exciting to be alive in a physical body, because that which we call consciousness, soon science will be able to measure that its frequencies and energies and how we can connect in our own personal way. See, we won't be able to like look outside like, oh, it's like this. No, it's inside. And why do I say that? And why do I call it light, the supreme light? Because anybody who's had a near-death experience will share what I'm sharing with you now. When you leave your body, you have a death experience, the heart stops, and you travel into outside the body. What happened to me, I've had 2 of those, and both times I traveled outside the body, leaving this planet, and as a paradox, traveling inside my very body. So coming back both times, I was thrown back in by some light beings. That's why I said there are beings of light that are, we can say, are angels, but I would say they're beings. And they're like our light family, and they are protecting and guiding us. I was thrown back into the body saying, you are not here. You're not supposed to leave yet. I said, yes, yeah, I think. I tried to convince them. I think I've really learned everything. I need to learn about everything about Earth. So, just let me in, because there was a huge light. This is what I call the supreme light. This light is huge, and it's vibrating love, compassion. You just want to go in there. There's nothing that could stop you from this. Well, there was a few light beings that came out of that and go, hey, where you think you're going? I said, guys, I am so ready for this. No. So I was thrown back. And when I was thrown back into the body, I was thrown back in a paradoxical way, and it's very useful in these processes. This was 25 years ago, so it's long before I had this experience of the presence. But it connected me, the horse and the wagon, connected into those dots. Because coming into this huge physical body, it felt like a tremendous, huge, clumsy thing coming from inside, moving into this body, talking. I was giving birth to my daughter at the time. So I just heard myself say, I remember, I remember, I remember. So, and then she was born. Very dramatic birth. But the importance of the supreme light is my own experience from that. So when that came, then the voice came and said, don't be afraid to meet it. Because there will be a time where we'll go into that light, and it's a wonderful thing, but we can't leave until it's our time. No matter how much you think you're ready, these beings of light has a lot of humor, a lot of joy, and they have actually said, third time, they said, okay, we'll spare you the time, because I was about to transition again, and said, we'll come to you. They actually manifested in my bedroom and said, look, you're about to transition again. So let us spare you the trip. Learn about the laws of living in a biological body. You're the one of us in a biological body. Can you please try to stay in there and make it work? There are certain laws. So we'll be with you, but just at least another 10 years. Can you just get on with this? So this was December 2018, so it's not that long ago. And since then, I got into a rapid learning about the biological body and the health and the nutrition and energy medicine. So my work as a holistic health therapist just really took off. I usually work with craniosacral, but I also then added these energy medicine. So I'll go into that more later. But I want to share with you the importance of relating to that light within. There is such a presence in each and every one of you, and we will go into a process now for you to have your own experience. So you can close your eyes now. And connect into the physical body. Feel the feet touching the floor. See this sacred body of yours, this vehicle you've been given as a gift. You're in this body for such a short time compared to the inexhaustible part of you that is eternal. This is a huge gift, no matter what this body is, even that which is called suffering. It carries something with it. So just go along now with this meditation and do this every day. Be aware of your legs and relax your legs as much as you can. Be aware of your hips, your pelvic region, your buttocks. Relax. Be aware of your stomach, your belly. Relax. Be aware of your back and spine. Relax. Your shoulders, your arms and hands and fingers. Relax. Your neck and throat. Relax. Your whole head and your face. Relax. Relax. See how the breathing is moving in and out by itself. You don't have to change your breathing. You don't have to change anything about your body. Just be aware of what's going on inside you right now. This is your sacred beingness of light. A vehicle with a presence of light inside you is housed. So pay attention to what is there inside you. This, what you're doing right now, is a simple meditation called a Vipassana. You can do this every day. You still the body and just be aware of the breathing, moving in and out by itself. Be interested in that. And as you're doing this, you'll be able to see your inner world, your thoughts, your feelings, your truth, what is happening inside you. And as you learn and get into the habit of doing this every day, sitting down, doing a Vipassana, 7 minutes, if you do it 7 minutes, there's a brain opening, a gap into your unconscious. So it would be very helpful for you to do it at least 7 minutes, because then your unconscious also comes in. We're all part of the collective unconscious. So it's very interesting these times to allow yourself to experience also the collective unconscious as well as your individual subconscious. Just go into that journey. Don't be afraid, because you have your presence with you. So put a focus now inside your heart, and that goodness inside your heart. You can feel it. You can connect with it. It carries an intelligence, and actually the brain is connected with its neurons into the neurons in your heart. So sending signals there. So what is going on in your heart is very valuable for the brain, because the brain is creating a picture of reality from what is sent from the picture in your heart. So as you get used to not being afraid to experience what is in your heart, because that is what the presence of goodness and grace is experiencing inside you all the time. It's just not judging it or putting any labels on being good or bad. It is just the very nature is to experience what is there. It does not want to run away from anything or change anything. Its very presence will cause a combustion of grace, that which we call alchemy of consciousness. So go into that presence now, connect into that presence of goodness and grace, and receive this sacred sound mantra to awaken into that sacred presence. Or if you already awakened into it, then go deeper into that bond between your heart and brain. Om Sachidananda Parabrahma Purushottama Paramatma Shri Bhagavati Sameta Shri Bhagavate Namaha. Om Sachidananda Parabrahma Purushottama Paramatma Shri Bhagavati Sameta Shri Bhagavate Namaha. Om Sachidananda Parabrahma Purushottama Paramatma Shri Bhagavati Sameta Shri Bhagavate Namaha. Shri Bhagavati Sameta Shri Bhagavate Namaha. Shri Bhagavati Sameta Shri Bhagavate Namaha. Shri Bhagavate Namaha. Shri Bhagavate Namaha. Om. Stay with your eyes closed. And whatever you are experiencing, no matter what you are experiencing now, give gratitude to that presence in your heart, however you relate to that. Stay with your eyes closed, and now you can either ask that presence to show you something that you have not accepted about yourself, something you're running away from, something that is creating suffering in you. It could be a relationship, could be a situation, or it could be a quality in you that shows up in just you don't know what to do with it. It's causing you suffering. And you're not able to accept that. You have to confront it. This is a good time to bring that forward. Any shadow quality inside you that you don't like about you, or something that is experienced by you, just bring it in to the presence in your heart, the presence of grace and goodness, of all-encompassing, inexhaustible power, and let it be experienced as it is, like a log of wood you put into the fire in your heart. Anything that is a suffering in you could be seen as a log of wood that hasn't burned all the way yet. You know what happens when you put a log of wood into the fire? It burns and it transmutes, it transforms. So into that power of your divine, put that energy of that log into the fire and receive this energy transmission of the sacred sound mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Stay with your eyes closed. Whatever you are experiencing inside you, give gratitude. What you are experiencing, give gratitude. And when you feel complete in your gratitude, you take a deep breath and you open your eyes in your own time. So this is a simple process you can do every day at your home. You connect into that presence of goodness and grace, gratitude, the 3 G's, the 3G network. And don't be afraid to see the truth of what is going on. You can only do that if you do a still yourself, like a Vipassana. If you like the Vipassana, you can download it for free on my website. There is a version on 21 minutes with some nice music and a guidance. Or you can just have it silence, or you can have music of your own choice. You can set the timer. But sit at least 7 minutes, because there is an opening into your unconscious after 7 minutes. There's a brain gap opening in the waves of the brain waves into your unconscious. So every day you can journey like this with that presence inside you. And you're always welcome to journey with me every Tuesday at this time at 8 o'clock in Sweden on this YouTube channel. We'll be sharing live broadcast, the Supreme Light meditation. It's only live broadcast, so it's never recorded. And there you can just sign up, and you can then bring in the luggage of the week, right? So that which we talked about on the Satsang, which is things that you collect during the day or the week that is like uncomfortable. You don't know what to do with it, and you know enough to not discard it or run away from it. Well, what do you do with it? Well, you can bring it into Tuesday. Tuesdays are perfect process day. In ancient Ayurveda, I think Tuesday is the day of Mars, and Mars is the planet of action. So welcome to join and journey with me on Tuesdays on the Supreme Light meditation. We'll do a short, it's just like half-hour process, but it's always live broadcast. Then you can also join me for the online courses. You find those on my website under the web shop. There are different subjects from health, alchemy of health, about consciousness. There's sacred mantras. There's all kinds of courses there you could take. You're also welcome to journey with my spiritual teachers. I journey with them. My teacher is having a satsang every Sunday. Her name is Tejasaji. She has a satsang on YouTube that I always follow and journey, because you don't want to miss out your own journeying, right? This is what the light beings were sharing with me 2018. Keep journeying, learn and grow. Because as long as you're journeying, as long as you're learning and growing, guess what? You have that potential in this body beingness to excel in higher levels of consciousness and awareness and higher levels of health. We are living in extraordinary times of evolution on this planet. You want to stay alive in this time as long as you can. So I'm dedicated to that process of health and oneness in the body. I've done a 4-part series called Oneness in the Body. For those of you who are interested in everything I know about health and nutrition and oneness, it's all in there. But we'll keep sharing these satsangs also. And we have these deeper journey courses also with my teachers, Sri Yama and Sri Bhagwan, 3-day courses online. And we have these 3-hour courses that I'm also organizing for. So there's lots of different things, depending on what you are excited about, what you're passionate about. There are so many fantastic programs to take. The important thing is keep journeying in your own way every day. Do Vipassana, because you want your own experience, no matter what path you're on or wherever you find, oh, I'm growing, taking these courses. Great, fantastic. Keep doing that. Don't ever stop. So with that, it is time to stop this satsang. I'm so grateful that so many of you connected. I'm so happy to be with you. Welcome back again on this channel. Thank you so much. I love you so much. Please come back again. Namaste.